Right, we're back in. Christian, I don't want to take anything away from Max because it was an absolutely stunning drive, but are you being handed this championship?
Are we live?
Right, we are. It's not meant to be disrespectful, but your main competitors at the moment seem to be making quite a lot of errors.
Look, I can only focus on our performance, and I think we did a great job today, and we switched our strategy on the grid. Going to the grid, both drivers felt they were struggling to generate temperature in the soft tyre, which were the tyre to get to the grid, and we were due to start the race on the hard tyre. So we switched it on the grid to deal with the ambient conditions and a bit of rain around and so on. And the soft tyre went much further than we thought. So at that point we've committed to a two-stop and went on to soft and the medium. And I think the key moment for the race for us, well, there were several key moments, but was obviously as soon as we saw Charles go on to the hard tyre, as soon as the whites came out, or the white wall tyres came out, we thought, okay, we've really got a chance now. And Checo was fantastic because he was on a different strategy. He let Max immediately get onto the back of Charles to make that pass. Max then had a spin, warmed his tyres up a bit more, and then had to do it all again. But a phenomenal performance.
Your strategists today, I thought, were amazing. You pull the trigger early on to undercut Lewis and get Max track position straight away on the first stint.
Yeah.
And then it just seemed like, despite Max having a little spin and losing the track position in the lead there, the calls just seem to be spot on today.
Well, we got a great, strategy team here and back in, Milton Keynes, and of course we've got Hannah Singh running the strategy on the pit wall today, and how we're all supportive of girl power, and especially for later this evening.
You want to be holding on to that, because I imagine there's a few teams up and down the pit lane who might want to nick them soon.
She's fantastic under pressure. The whole team is, because it's not just about one person. And the pit stops today, again, were dynamite. Just the way the whole team's working is, it's a joy to see. And, we had a tough day on Friday. We were out of it on Friday. We had a tough day yesterday. Despite having felt we got the car into a much better window, and then a really competitive race, and a bit of a clutch issue early on with Max, which we had to manage. But once we solved that and were able to release him, then it was one of his best drives.
Yeah, Christian, give us a bit of an idea of what's going on with Max when he's in the cockpit. We heard from Charles, he was sort of saying, I want to go a little bit longer. And then when they brought him in, obviously put those hards on, it's something he didn't want. Is Max very vocal in the cockpit with strategy,
No,
for example?
he's like a mouse, really. I mean, you can hardly hear him. In fact, I don't think we need the radio. No, but the relationship that he's got with GP as engineer, GP can read almost before it's coming out Max's mouth. He knows what's coming, and I think that dynamic is so important. With any driver and an engineer, you see it with Lewis and Bono. You've seen it, with Rocky in the past with Sebastian, and that dynamic between the two of them is really very strong.
Can I ask you about Checo, because Helmut's been pretty punchy recently about Checo's recent performances.
I made a joke to Helmut the other day. I said, look, I think Checo's gone on holiday already, and he went and told all you guys. But look at Checo's race in the second half today. I mean, I think without that VSC, he'd have actually been challenging for the podium. I mean, he was a second a lap quicker in the closing stages than both George and Carlos, and he was coming very, very quickly. So I think a reset over the summer break, just to understand what's not gone quite right for him the last couple of races. He'll come back stronger, from Spa onwards.
In terms of Max's drives, one of his strongest I think it's only the second time you've won from starting outside the top six in the history of Red Bull. So he's just very good at climbing through fields, isn't he? We see it so often with him. He's a great racer.
He loves racing. I mean, he was disappointed immediately after qualifying yesterday, but I actually think he quite relished by talking to him later on that, I'm going racing tomorrow, and it's so pure in him. He just loves going wheel to wheel, and again, great respect between him and Charles today. That they raced each other hardly, but fairly, and I thought the racing throughout the field was very good today.
How key, though, was the tyre strategy today? Was the original strategy to start them both on the mediums?
No, we were both going to start them both on the hards. That was statistically, if you follow the data, that was the best way for us to achieve what would have been maybe a 5th and 6th in the race. But of course, sometimes the data has to go out the window when you look up, see what the weather's doing and the temperature, and you listen to the drivers. And both the drivers were complaining they couldn't generate the temperature on the soft on the way to the grid. So it was a question of, okay, we need to change our strategy here.